Good afternoon, everyone. It is a real pleasure for me to be here. I am Claudia Moscoso. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the Light and Color Center at NTNU in Norway. And today I'm going to be presenting you the results of an experiment designed to study the effects of the window size on the atmosphere of Daylit spaces at high latitudes.
You can take the box if you want to use that. Nope.
No. I can. I think it's N. Oh. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And so a bit of the background of what was the motivation for this experiment. It was what we have been discussing this morning already, that there is sustainability in the agenda of everybody, of every designer, of every architect, of every developer. Especially in Norway, it has been found that the windows are responsible of 45% of the total heat loss for a typical Norwegian office building constructed under the current Norwegian regulations. But then we also have on the other side that windows are being, they want to be used as an energy measure to bring daylight to buildings that are primarily used during the daytime. So if we use more daylight, then we can reduce the cost of the electrical lighting. So we have this dichotomy. Are windows energy gainers or energy losers? And about the Norwegian regulations is that when it comes to lighting, it's only that the rooms have to have an average of 2% of daylight factor, and that's it. The problem is when the designers use this as a target rather than as a minimum level. So we, as I'm an architect and a lighting researcher, we wanted to contribute to the discussion, and we wanted to see the other part of window size, besides the energy efficiency measure, besides the Norwegian regulations, besides the daylight factor. And also by remembering that the luminous conditions, it gives the information about the environment. It affects our health and well-being. And a good lighting quality, we have seen this throughout the years, that it should provide sufficient illumination, but it should also contribute to aesthetic perception of a space by providing a pleasant visual environment. So consider that the humans spend between 80 and 90% time of indoors. The goal should be to provide a satisfactory visual environment. And so we designed this experiment about window size as a main focus, but the window design is much more than the dimensions. There are other factors that interplay with the windows. So in this case, these studies were made at high latitudes. So we have the sky type that are particularly at high latitudes in Trondheim, and I will come back to that later. We have the size of a space, and we have the context about what function, what activities are happening in a space. So we have these four factors: window size, space type, spatial context, and sky type. And we had a mixed design with some within and between subject factors. Now, you researchers will agree with me that that doing research with daylight, with natural light conditions, is quite challenging. We don't have a switch to turn on overcast sky or clear sky, or we don't have stability in the conditions, and we cannot ask a person, okay, go to the small room and evaluate this window, and then go to the large room and evaluate another window, and so on. In that case, we record with virtual reality, because we have these two rooms, the small one to the left, the large one to the right, and we have these all four factors: the sky type, the context, and so on. And I'll go to this very quick. This was, we modeled the room in Rhino with Radon's properties, and we did the 360 immersive scenes. And we had in total 36 pairs of scenes. I'm not showing you all of this here, of course. Actually, there were more. There were 144 because we have different heights. But this is just an example means. We have, for example, the small space, large space, the window size, small, medium, large, small, medium, large. The small window size, it was to create the minimal acceptable window size according to the Norwegian regulations. So in these rooms, we achieved this average of 2% of daylight factor. The large windows were the real windows that were in the real spaces. And the medium windows is the average between the small and the large. And then we have the sky type, the overcast sky, which is typical in Trondheim. the clear sky with the low sun angle, which is also typical in Trondheim. It provides a deeper sunlight penetration. And the clear sky with high sun angle, this was to limit the entrance of the sunlight patches on the furniture. The design, we had a sample size of 150 participants. And we had these dependent variables because we wanted to see how the window size affect the atmosphere perception of the space. So we have these 8 dependent variables, and they were studied with 11-point Likert type scale from 0 to 10. So we have, for example, the pleasantness, about how pleasant is this space on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 not at all, 10 very pleasant, and so on. And then we had the results. So instead of showing you the whole numerical statistical table here, I just wanted to be more straightforward so it will be more easy to understand what we found. And we see that, for example, calmness was not affected by any of the factors. Window size affected the majority of the attributes. Space affected the pleasantness, the spaciousness, and the amount of view. Context only affected the spaciousness. This could be explained because I was having some comments from the participants saying that, for example, in a working scenario, they didn't like the small room. They didn't like the large room because it felt like a landscape office, and they preferred the small room as a private office. Landscape office is not very popular in Norway nowadays. And whereas in the socializing scenario, they said, okay, the small room, you cannot do socializing there. They prefer the large room. So this could be explained by that. And contrary to our expectations, the sky type did not have an effect on any of the attributes. This was a surprise. One explanation could be that the vertical luminance that we measured the headset did not have a significant difference between the stimuli, or it was due to the experimental design that the sky type was a between subject factor. But either way, this is still positive because it says that the window size still affects the atmosphere of the space independently of the lighting conditions. But of course, more research is needed. Then we started 3 two-way interactions. Window size is the main factor of the focus, with the context and the sky type, no significant. And then window size and space was significant on the satisfaction of the amount of view, which we will see here. We use this. We see, for example, that the small window in both the spaces, here and here, they have a medium view out level, and the medium and large windows in both the spaces, they had a high view out level according to European standard. What was interesting was that the large window in the small space and the medium window in the large space had almost the same horizontal side angle, a bit about 80 degrees, which make it comparable. And having in consideration that this interaction window space had in the satisfaction the amount of view, this could suggest that the window size preference in relation to the satisfaction with the amount of view, it comes from where the space in which the window is located. It's not as simple as in just the window size. It depends on where it is located, the window, what type of space. This was just a figure to see the medium window in the large space, the large window in the small space that was comparable in side angle. And because window size had an effect in the majority of the attributes, we studied the post-hoc pairwise comparisons. And we can deduce 3 things. One is that we can see that as the ratings increase, as the window size increase as well. We had larger scores for the medium window than the large window than the small. This is more evident for the brightness and the satisfaction of the amount of view, where they were increases of over 1 point in an 11-point scale, translating to 11 to 16% increase in the scores. But then we also have that for interest, excitement, and complexity, we don't see a significant difference between the medium and the large window. So this could mean that there might be an upper threshold for the evaluation of these attributes. That is not the same that going from a small to a medium window, that from a medium to a large. There seems to be a non-linear relationship between the preferences. And as a concluding remark, yes, we can say that the evaluations of pleasantness, interest, excitement, brightness, spaciousness, and satisfaction with the amount of view increase as the window size increase. The satisfaction with the amount of view seems to be dependent on other factors, such as space in which the window is placed. And for the perception of interest, excitement, and complexity, there seems to be an upper threshold, this nonlinear relationship that I was mentioning you about. And these are studies made at high latitudes. Studies with windows of preference on different latitudes are forthcoming. And last but not least, I would like to thank the team which made this study possible. It was a collaborating effort between the Lipid Lab at IPFL with Kintegel Motori, Jan Vinol, and Marilyn Anderson, and the Light and Color Center with Barbara Matusek and myself. And of course, thank you to the VELUX Foundation for the funding, and then to NU. And thank you all for your attention.